In the previous demonstration, I showed you how it takes seconds for fcf-online to produce a 360-degree report. In this video, I will take you through the layout of the 360-degree report. Each report follows a similar design. Here you would actually have your own logo, the name of your company, the name of your survey, the person involved, and the date it was actually produced. The contents page is then followed by a brief introduction and a summary of the statements that you have included within your questionnaire. You will recall that in our previous demonstration we chose 10 statements. The report also summarizes the rating scale that you have chosen and the number of respondents that are included within the survey, broken down between the individual groups. For instance, you can see that there are 3 direct reports that have participated in this survey. The next section gives you a detailed breakdown of how the results will be presented and how to interpret them. This is a generic explanation and appears in all the reports. Each is preceded by a spider's web of the overall results, followed by a breakdown by category, and then individual statements in detail. We give you some ideas for how this feedback might be used before going into the individual findings. Here is the overall spiders chart for this particular one, with the 10 statements being reflected around the outside of the spider's web and the different coloured lines reflecting the different respondent groups. You can see there is some variation between the groups in respect of some of the statements, and these areas would be worth investigating. Here is the summary for the communication competence. Effectively you can see the different respondent groups and as a bar chart how they have responded. We then show the leadership categories and the statements before going into the individual statements. Now here's an example of the individual statements. What we show here is how the different groups have responded, what the statement was, and how the various groups have responded. This way you can see if there's any discrepancies between the opinions. For instance, what we know for this particular statement, that a third of the respondents, including the individual themselves, rated this particular competence 4, although there were one individual amongst the peers that felt that it was rating 2. This is particularly useful in exploring differences of opinions. So as we work through the statements, you will see that each statement is presented the same way. Any comments that have been recorded are shown within the report, although you can't tell which individual has made that comment unless you were to ask them to put their name immediately prior to the comment being added, or some form of identification code. As we work through the particular statements, if I can draw your attention to one of them here, which is this one. What we would see, for instance, here is a third of the respondents, including the individual themselves, feels that only a score of 2 may be worth exploring in more detail. At the end of the report there is a suggestion for a personal agenda for change and follow-up, and tries to persuade the individual to record the actions that they will take. This concludes this demonstration.